we're going to really start brainstorming now. I'm going to share a few options. Some you can use directly with existing prompts, and others, they aren't attached to prompts at all. So let me explain. Well, it does make sense to come up with ideas that are directly attached to the written prompts. I also encourage you to brainstorm the many ways you show up in the world, your experiences and roles, whether they match a prompt or not. Because often, without looking at the prompts, we can identify our most important characteristics and experiences and then find a prompt where they can be applied. So let's start with a simple but expansive exercise. For this one, I just want you to answer one question. What makes you feel most alive? Now, remember the number one rule of brainstorming? No judgment. Stop it. Just follow the flow of thoughts. I gave this one a go-to. For me, what makes me feel most alive is a hip hop class I take. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's generic. You might be right, talking about how a dance class makes me feel free, or how the music makes me feel good, or how I like hanging out with people in a lively setting. It's a little cliche. It's certainly not riveting, if that's all I talk about. But that is the first thing that I came up with. So I'm going to silence my judgmental brain and chase the concept for a minute. When you go to brainstorm, you might find that the idea doesn't pan out. It doesn't go anywhere. In this case, you trash it and you move on. But sometimes it does. So before you trash it, saying, this is too cliche, can you add depth to morph it into something more powerful? What else can I say about hip hop? So to add more depth, I need another method or two. Let's continue with two more tried and true brainstorming methods, the mind map and the T-chart. They both pull the same information, but depending on how you think, one might work better for you than the other. These are great tools to use with specific prompts. All right, let's start with the mind map. Here's how it works. You begin with a prompt, and that prompt can be very general. Back to my example, I'm mapping out why hip hop matters to me. The goal is to brainstorm ideas off other ideas until you have a lot on the page, and then you can see how these various concepts, they connect. So if you need a demo, here you go.
When it comes to the mind map versus the T-chart, it's really just a preference thing. You might be more of a visual spatial thinker and the mapping out of your brainstorming is better. I myself am more of a linear thinker and I prefer the list format, but the choice is completely yours. The first idea that comes up after reading the prompt, it goes in the center bubble, and from there you're going to branch out as to why you selected this. My reasons for loving hip hop have to do with how I can express myself. I like the exercise. I found some comfort around my age in participating in this activity. And then lastly, the music. I'm going to switch over to the T-chart because if I was continuing with the mind map, I would then branch out little bubbles from the bigger bubbles to show why I chose those subcategories. But I'll show you the next phase using the T-chart. It's when we go deeper. You can see here that it's really just a list. Rather than bubbles, I'm writing things from top to bottom, left to right, like a book. Now, as we go deeper, you can see I have reasons behind the reasons. The reason I came up with self-expression is because I've never moved in this way before, and especially as someone who identifies as a woman, you get a lot of messaging about what is and isn't appropriate in their movement, and I feel like I can break down a lot of those stereotypes in hip-hop. That could be a deep essay. More so, I like the idea that my brain gets quiet at this time. Next up, I love to exercise, and this might be the most fun way to do that, so I listed it. I quickly realized after joining hip hop that I had some really misguided beliefs around being able to join. I thought if I couldn't do this before the age of 25, it was too late for me, and I'd always wanted to do hip hop. When I challenged myself to go to a class, even though I was super scared, and I not only got through it, but I got through it well, and I felt welcomed, and I loved it, I realized, why did I hold myself back from doing this earlier? And what other kind of limited beliefs do I have about trying new things? What kind of stories have I been telling myself? At this point of the brainstorming process, I might be thinking back to other times when I've done that, and so I can adopt this new mindset moving forward. This starts getting pretty deep, and I might have an actual essay to work with here, but I still have one more point to think about. And the last legitimate reason for loving hip hop is the music. It makes me want to move, and quite honestly, it just makes me happy. I can't come up with anything more at this time around that, so I might not be developing an essay further around music, me, and hip hop. But I definitely have a couple topics to work with that go deep enough because I allowed myself to brainstorm every thought fully.